Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies with your host, Jason Marshall.
Hey everybody, thanks for downloading the show. Today's going to be a very different kind of episode. I've played songs on the show to celebrate somebody's birthday. Every year I do an episode for my birthday, but this will be the first episode I've ever done to focus on somebody else's birthday. He joined the show in October 2018 and has stormed his way into listeners' hearts. Whether you're a fan of his funny videos or his forecasts, we can all agree he is one of the best additions in the podcast history. It's the world's most famous weatherman, Frankie MacDonald. How you doing, Frankie?
I'm doing great so far.
Before we get started, I want to wish you a happy early birthday. Your birthday's on Wednesday, April 24th. Do you have any plans?
I'm having ice cream cake, and I'll be having Chinese food.
That sounds really good. What's been your favorite birthday so far?
It's been a Chinese food and ice cream cake and things like that.
I've asked listeners to send in questions for me to ask you on this episode for your birthday. I got a lot of them, so to save time, I'm going to mix them in with my questions and try to ask them in order of topics. So let's get into them. What got you into the weather?
When I was a little boy, I wanted to grow up. I wanted to be a weatherman.
What about weather interests you the most?
It's like a big hurricanes, blizzards, and tornadoes, earthquakes, and things like that. When I did a severe earthquake warning for California in September 2010 video, I made a Tosh.0 Season 2 episode 13.
What was the very first video that you done, and why did you decide to do it?
That means I did the very first video of the scenery on December 27, 2007. On my old YouTube channel that doesn't exist anymore, Flank99. Then on Wednesday, December 16, 2009, I did the very first video of myself. I did the very first video of my own voice that was August 2009.
What was your first comedy video?
The guy spinning around and things like that, like a severe onion ring warning, like the man spinning around and things like that. And I did a comedy video like the guy spinning around back in 2011. And I did it. And I did a guy spinning around videos, and I just did it. Guy tries to eat 50 hot dogs once. That's my first epic comedy video. Guy tries to eat 50 hot dogs once. I got 1,300,000 plus views.
Wow. What's your favorite funny video that you've posted on YouTube? Would it be that one?
It's like another comedy video I did. It's like a ping pong warning and things like that. Raining chicken nuggets and things like that.
Do you try to come up with funny ideas for videos, or do the ideas just come to you randomly?
I came up with my own idea for my funny videos. Another funny video I did is like a guy spinning around, things like that. I also did another comedy video like the Cloudy with a Chance of Lobsters and things like that.
Well, you mentioned Tosh.0 earlier. How did you get approached to be on Tosh.0?
He liked my video. My video was aired on Tosh.0 Season 2, Episode 13 back in 2010.
What do you like to do for fun besides reporting the weather and making your funny videos?
I go to the show. I go to dances, and I go to the show. I go to dances. I watch hockey and basketball games. I go down the boardwalk, go for walks, things like that.
What's your favorite sport?
I watch hockey in the wintertime, and I watch baseball and things like that in the summer. And I watch some of the soccer and football.
What kind of music do you listen to?
Metal, rock, and things like that, and alternative.
If you could meet anybody in the world, who would it be?
I'll meet Ellen DeGeneres, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, and I will meet all the other actors.
If you could visit anywhere in the world, where would it be?
A lot of those big places with talk shows on regular television. So I appear on talk shows and regular television. So my followers will skyrocket.
What's your favorite food?
Pizzas and Chinese food.
What's your favorite fast food restaurant?
I like KFC. I like A&W. I like Harvey's. I like Dairy Queen.
Those are good choices. In your videos, you tell people to order pizza and order Chinese food. Which do you like better, pizza or Chinese food?
I like Chinese food.
Another question, I think this is along the same lines. You also tell people to buy cases of Pepsi and buy cases of Coke. Which do you like better, Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi.
I have one last question. This one is for me. Frankie, back in February, a tornado was in my area. Then last week, we had a tornado warning. 2 days later, we had another tornado warning and one touchdown a few miles from my house. What do I need to know about tornadoes? And what do I need to do to be prepared?
That means to stay away from the windows because the chance of large hail. And the hail can break car windows and break windows and things like that. Hail can hurt somebody outside the tornado.
Do you have anything else that you would like to talk about or promote before you go?
My action figures is on FrankieActionFigure.com and Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. As for a Talking Frankie's Now Bobble, it's on Amazon.com and National Bobble, it's Hall of Fame website. My book is Be Prepared, Frank Now Guide to Life, Weather, and everything's on Amazon and Chapters, Indigo Bookstore, and Barnes & Noble bookstores. And the Frankie Says Be Prepared t-shirts are on www.thelostcod.com. You can get yourself a Frankie Says Be Prepared t-shirt.
John the Songman wrote a song for Frankie's birthday. I'll play that a little later in the show. The co-author of Frankie's book will be up next, but first, here's a song from the Canadian band The Arrogant Worms called We Talk About the Weather.
That means you'll probably get Sarah Sawler on your show.
Yeah, she'll be right after this break.
I'm Frankie MacDonald. You're listening to We Don't Have Cookies.
Some of us eat donuts, but some of us don't. Some of us switch to daylight savings time, but some of us just won't. Well, these differences would tear us apart if a strong bond weren't there. Fortunately, there is one thing all of us like to share. What do all Canadians do together? We talk about the weather. What do all Canadians do together? We talk about the weather. It's safer than talking politics, hockey, or religion. The weather's the only thing about which you can safely state a strong opinion. Doctor, preacher, fast food worker, and the guy who unclogs the drain speak the same language when they say, do you think it's gonna rain? The garden sure could use it. What do our Canadians do together? Talk about the weather. What do our Canadians do together? Talk about the weather. It's minus 30 out there, still minus 50, which we chill. Let us know if there's a read. And I don't wanna be mean, but I blame the jet stream, cause the track ain't southerly. And there's nothing you can do but just talking it through brings a smile to our corner. We talk about the weather, cause it almost always sucks. What do our Canadians do together? Talk about the weather. What do our Canadians do together? Talk about the weather. Spring's been kinda cool, I hope that it gets better. Talk about the weather. I'm feeling a chill, should I put on a sweater? Talk about the weather. Shoveling the snow is quite a large endeavor. Talk about the weather. Do you ever notice when it rains things get wetter? Talk about the weather. Kilopascals measure barometric pressure. Talk about the weather. These thunderstorms are freaking out my Irish setter. Talk about the weather.
Yeah, it's just been chilly recently, eh? That's a cold wind coming in from the north.
Talk
I guess probably northeast, actually. Supposed to get some rain, though, eh? You hear that? We're gonna get some rain. Good for the farmers. Bad for my hair. Yeah. At least you don't have to shovel it, though. Hey? It'll be not long till winter now. What do you think? Yeah, it was a cold one last year, wasn't it? A lot of snow. I mean, I like the snow, but I don't like to shovel it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Oh, and the next week, I hope it's a good weekend, because I got the kids next weekend, you know, and I want to take them out, maybe out for a walk or something, but it's hard to tell, though, with all this rain we've been having. It's been pretty muddy. It's like mud.
My next guest co-wrote Frankie's book, Be Prepared, the Frankie MacDonald Guide to Life, the Weather, and Everything. It's Sarah Sawler. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. I'll be doing even better if you tell me I pronounced that right, because I didn't ask before we started recording.
It's all good. You got it right. It is Sarah Sawler.
About a month or two ago, Frankie was on the podcast to give his weather forecast, and while he was on, he mentioned that I should have you on. I thought that was a great idea, which ended up leading to me planning this episode. How did you meet Frankie?
Well, I've been following Frankie for a while. He's kind of a big deal here. So he's in Sydney, Cape Breton, and I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So we're both in Nova Scotia, but there's about 4 hours between us. So I hadn't actually met him before. But I was connected with Frankie when the publisher, Nimbus Publishing, had already talked to Frankie about the possibility of doing a book. But of course, Frankie's specialty is the weather and not necessarily writing. So they needed a writer to collaborate with him on that. And they reached out to me. So I was introduced to him and we got started.
What is something that you learned about Frankie while writing the book that either surprised or impressed you?
I think one of the things that surprised me was that, well, we all know Frankie for his weather predictions. But one thing that I didn't know is that he really loves maps. And so that was a big discovery, because when I looked back into his childhood, which is mainly what Be Prepared, the book, is about, when I looked back to his childhood, the maps took up almost as much significance as him learning about the weather. He actually has a huge map collection. Family members give him maps. He even has the bookstore holding different maps for him that they think he doesn't have. And I thought that was interesting because although he didn't confirm this, but I feel like understanding geography plays a large part in understanding meteorology. So I think that was him laying the groundwork. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, very much so. I would have never known that about Frankie. Can you tell us a funny story that you might have had from working with Frankie or from the book itself?
Yeah, sure. We did a lot of our back and forth talking on Twitter DM, direct messages, which was a really unusual way to work, but worked really well for us because we could stop and write messages to each other, ask quick questions, and then the other one would check in when we have time and answer it. Or vice, he would do it, I would do it. And I was working on the book one day and I was typing out the name of his YouTube channel, Dogs and Wolves. And I just thought, nobody's ever told me why he called it Dogs and Wolves. Frankie never mentioned it. So I popped a quick message off to him on Twitter and just said, "Hey, Frankie, why did you call your channel Dogs and Wolves?" And he wrote back and he said, "Because one day I was walking along the Sydney waterfront and some dogs started chasing me." And so thinking there was a big story, I wrote back, I was like, "Wow, can you tell me more about that? Why were they chasing you? What happened? How far did you run?" Trying to get some details. And he came back and he said, "Just to the end of the block." And I wrote back again and I said, "Well, why did they stop?" Thinking maybe somebody intervened or what. And they got tired. So that one, I still look back at that and laugh. Of course, they just get tired. So that's one of my favorite stories, looking back on that.
Well, Sarah, I want to thank you for being on the show today. Is there anything that you would like to say before you go, or anything that you want to promote?
No, thank you so much for having me. I guess I would just say happy birthday to Frankie, since this is his birthday episode.
Happy birthday. I can't believe what I was told. I just told Frankie he's going to be turning 35 years old, and I know that nothing more he wants getting some gold, because I know it's something that he'll just want to hold, and I know it's something that he'll never have sold. So let's give him a big cheer, because his birthday gets better every single year, and I know that's just what he loves to hear whenever he hears it from his ear.
Oh, Frankie MacDonald, I heard about this guy, and I got online and I watched him. And Frankie, I got to tell you, as a wood enthusiast across the globe, you're one of our favorite weathermen. You're talking to us when it's warm and when it's cold and when it's windy and when it's blowing snow. So we thank you so much for your service. And we want to say happy birthday from the wood enthusiast community.
I want to thank everybody who sent in questions for Frankie. I got more than I expected, and I didn't want to read off all the names with the questions because there were so many of you, and a few of you asked the same question, so it was just easier this way. But thanks for sending them in. The surprise I was hoping to have on this episode was the man who got Frankie's face tattooed on his leg. Try saying that fast 3 times. I sent him a message asking him to be on, but unfortunately I didn't hear back from him. But I had a good time talking to Frankie and to Sarah. Like I said earlier, this Wednesday, April 24th, is Frankie's actual birthday, so please make sure you tweet him or leave him a comment on his YouTube channel or his Instagram to say happy birthday. Speaking of days, that brings us to this week's Strange Days of the Week. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out, Monday, April 22nd is Jelly Bean Day. Tuesday is Take a Chance and Impossible Astronaut Day. I have no idea what Impossible Astronaut Day could possibly be, but it sounds like it goes well with Take a Chance Day. Thursday is Take Our Daughters and Sons to Work Day, and also DNA Day. So take them to work and do a DNA test to prove that they're yours. Friday is Pretzel Day and Richter Scale Day, and Sunday is World Pinhole Photography Day. Gotta be honest with you guys. Not feeling the strange days this week. Maybe next week's will be better. I was hoping for Haiku Astronomy Day this week. Maybe that's why I was feeling so blah about the days. Just had my hopes too high. I hope all of you are enjoying the spring weather. I have been. I mowed my grass for the first time a few weeks ago. I kept having dreams about my neighbor beside me getting to mow his grass before I did, and I was embarrassed about how high mine looked compared to his. You know you're really into your yard when you start having dreams like that. But I mowed a few weeks ago and it was still chilly out, so I wore a long sleeve shirt. I put sunscreen on my face and my neck. Normally I'd put it on my arms, but since I had a long sleeve shirt on, I didn't. When I was done, I came in, I took my shirt off, looked down, and my hands were sunburnt, but it was just the top parts of my hands where the shirt got cut off, so it looked very odd. I completely forgot to spray them. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out, I'm mowing my grass right now. I have a lot of work to do outside this week. And here's a segment we haven't done in a while. This week in neighbor news, my neighbor tore the old house down on his property. He actually did it a few weeks ago, but I figured I'd give you an update. It looks a lot better with it gone, besides the huge hole in his yard where the basement used to be that he doesn't seem to be in a hurry to fill in. What's weird is they tore the house down, but left the concrete where the porch was. So now there's just this big slab of concrete next to a huge hole in the yard. The guy had another person with a piece of machinery come in and knock it down, and they used that to also pick it up and put the pieces into a dumpster. I'm not sure why they didn't do the same thing with the concrete slab, or at least bust it up to put it in the hole, but what are you going to do? That's the latest on neighbor news. I have gotten a couple of messages talking about the shows being a little shorter lately. That's because I am very busy, but it does seem like they're all about 20 minutes to a half hour, so I don't think they're too much shorter, but I do appreciate you guys noticing enough to send me a message. You know how some stores do Christmas and July sales? Next week on the podcast will be Halloween in April. I had another strange incident happen at the house, and I'll talk all about it with comedian and paranormal investigator Karen Rontowski. Frankie will be back to give you the weather next week and more, so don't miss it. I'll talk to you then.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review. See you next time.
It's my birthday on April 24, 2019. I'm Frankie MacDonald. You're listening to We don't have cookies.